Welcome, everyone, to another edition of our Gratitude podcast. And as usual, because I have so many amazing friends, it's not because of me. I think I just ran into these people. We've got another amazing guest here. Her name is Jen Zoe Hall, and she's right now in West Palm Beach. She's got this horse therapy facility there. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I met her in the Tony Robbins world. She was working there when I was working there, and we're both into personal development. And she's taken it just a step forward with her passion in life, which is horses and helping people. And we're going to get into that. But we really want to know, like we do on a lot of our Gratitude podcasts, is how her mind developed. So first of all, Jen Zoe Hall, welcome to the Gratitude podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I met you. God, when was it? I know that when I met you, you gave me one of your love buttons.
Oh, I got one on.
Oh, that's great. I remember that we met at an event, and you just had one of the things I love about you is just your energy's always so just. And I'm always just so effusive and welcoming. So thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited.
Yeah. So Jen, first of all, tell us about your horse therapy. I know that I bought a package for a weekend sometime in the future when it's going to work out, and it's not too hot because I croak in the hot of Florida. So I'm not coming in the summertime. But if I did come, or when I do come, what's going to happen at your horse therapy? And it's an open-ended question to tell us a little bit about what you do, really, because I think it's amazing.
Well, thank you for that. And I know that you've probably seen some of my videos and things on social media and, just chit-chatting in person, what have you. When you ask me, no, talk about asking me the toughest question you could possibly ask.
Oh, there's going to be tougher ones.
Oh, no. But what are you going to do when you come to Zenergen? That's the name of it. It's Zenergen Equine Assisted Personal Development. We use the word therapy kind of loosely. I'm not a therapist, just to be clear, but it's definitely, there's a difference. I mean, we wouldn't call Tony Robbins a therapist. So it's personal development by using horses. So what you're going to do here, it changes every time. I just had a retreat this past weekend, and we did some really interesting things. One of the things we did, we talked about the anatomy of the horse and why that's important, and biomechanics. So some of the things you're going to learn about horses themselves. If you love horses, you're like, man, I've always wanted to have a horse, or I'm just curious about them. This is definitely the place to check out, because what we do here with the horses is about understanding their secret language and how they are able to tell us things that when we're quiet. And they don't call me a horse whisperer because I whisper to them. But when we listen to their whispers, we can get some answers about ourselves that will help us, increase our mindset about our confidence, our leadership skills, boundaries, focus, motivation. And I have actually I have 5. Don't let me forget Tuesday. She might be really upset. That represent the different personality types and even the archetypes. Go into a lot of work diving into Carl Jungian archetypes. And if you've ever done a personality profile, I've got DISC, Tony Robbins has the DISC profile, and that he uses it as one of his teaching tools. And that's what I have here. I have my high D, who is Dante, who's my 1,200 pound Tony Robbins. And then I have my high I and high S. So each one of the horses represents a different quadrant of personality type that helps you understand not only about yourself, but about all the people you love and care about. You're bringing a friend with you. And so now you're going to be able to understand that individual, because you're going to go, oh, she's a maverick, and you go, oh, I'm a Bella, so whatever those things are, it takes it from, a test or a survey or something you click a box with, and it puts you out into the arena where it's experiential, and you will never forget the horse that chooses you, that you connect with, that you have a lesson or some kind of gift to download from Creator. Because really, Robert, horses are a lightning rod to the divine.
So is that what happens? You're on one side of the arena and you have all your 4 horses lined up and you're standing in the middle, and the horse that is like you walks up and selects you, and that's your personality type?
Kind of. But it's a little bit more. I can't believe this is actually happening than that. You will be out in the arena with the horses, and the energy will be all moving around, and you're going to start to notice how the different horses behave. like Bella, she'll be going and going and going and going. It's like she has no bottom of energy, right? And Trace will be like, well, just let me know when lunch is. We jokingly call it 4:20, So we have like these different personality types. But here's the thing that's crazy. The horse that chooses you, and we do like our full immersions, is not necessarily the horse that's like you or the horse that you like. It's the horse that actually has some kind of message or gift or lesson to teach you in that moment. Because people come back. I have people come back for retreats over and over. And every time they come here, a different horse interacts with them because, you know this, Robert, you can't put your foot in the same river twice.
Sure.
So if you're different part in your life, I've had Dante teach people about boundaries. And that's where they were like, oh, I've been really struggling with my dad and trying to tell him how I wanted to do certain things. And now I know because I understand Dante's and how they think, and that me being like soft and like, well, it's, would you mind? With a Dante, you kind of have to, you have to give it to him straight, right? So you figure out how to change the way you think about treating other people that are not like you, because we tend to treat people like who we are, right?
Yeah.
That's our default. And then we talk about something called the adaptives. We all have our natural state where we feel calm and comfortable, but then there are 5 things that actually can shift where that looks like. She's like, oh, well, I'm kind of like a Bella, but I got some Dante too. And while that may be true, you have one place where you live. And when we talk about like more so than any other personality type modality is the 5 adaptives that pull you out of your natural state, and which ones affect you, which ones affect the ones that you love, and how you can learn again how to communicate with people when they're triggered or when they're worried or scared, right? Or sometimes maybe that narcissist that you think you're dealing with when actually you're the one setting yourself up to present as a victim. Right. So there's all kinds of different ways that we interact with the horses. And as we peel back the layers, you're like, why did this horse come up to me? I didn't think Maverick was going to come over to me and pick me. But by the end of the time, you're like, oh, it's because he's like my boss and I've been treating him this way. And no wonder I don't have the promotion. I need to change my mindset about how to treat now what I know looks like a Maverick personality type. And then we go into even more deeper things than just that.
So if a horse walks up to me, is it going to talk to me like Mr. Ed, or is it going to talk to you and you're going to interpret since you're the horse whisperer and tell me what the horse said? Or what actually happens? Like, how do I get a message from a horse?
It comes through feel. And if you've ever done, Dr. Joe and, Louise Hayes and Deepak Chopra and Esther Hicks and those types of things now start shifting into that mindset, like how you think about things from a spiritual perspective. Because I said before, they are a lightning rod to the divine. So when you get still and very still and you listen, both things will happen. The horse will do something that I can easily interpret because of my experience, 20 years working with horses in a natural way. And I've had 2 of my horses for almost 19 years. And then coming in and saying, oh, did you? That's what that means. And you can listen and it becomes very clear that the horse is doing this for one way or another, because I will teach you how to read a horse, what they're doing with their ears, what they're doing with their nose, how they're breathing, what's going on in their back and their movement, all of the things that they are doing physically, we can read and interpret to our own lives.
So how did you learn to read and interpret a horse?
So much study. I went out and started working with as many horses as I could get my hands on. I volunteer at rescues. I would foster rescue horses in my barn and work with them. I dove in, Robert. I just got obsessed. I was like, who is the best horse trainer in the world? I want to study with that person. And I followed, natural horsemanship trainers from all over the globe. I've had people come and stay with me that work with me, like living in my house for weeks at a time. And I picked their brain and I would watch videos and I would go to horse shows. I would do anything I could to lay my eyes, hands, and bodies get out there with these horses. And originally it was my original goal with horses. I wanted to go to the Olympics in a sport called 3-day eventing, which is kind of like triathlon with horses. Horse is like one of the most challenging sports you could possibly do with a horse. But once I started diving in and like going, oh wait, these guys think differently. that's really I started putting two and two together. And then in 2011, I went to a Tony Robbins experience, talked about him a little bit. And I was like, what he's doing with the horses, I'm doing with people. Other way around.
Other way around.
What I do with horses, he's doing with people.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's such a parallel. I just mixed it up, but it's true. The parallels with people and behavior are a pure mirror showing up in the horse. And when you have horses that are trained like mine are very specifically to be healers, right? To do that sort of thing, it's really important to say, I am looking at this horse from the perspective of how can I be here for the horse? How can I have more compassion for the horse? So it's really important to get out and be around as much and immerse yourself in with the best in the world. And that's what I did.
So I want you to go back, I don't know how far, but go back. Like, where did the love of horses come from? Where did you even have this idea that I'm going to work with horses? Like, were you 2 or 5 or 17, or when did that first start, and why?
That's great. I love this because I was coming out of the IGA in Poplar Bluff, Missouri with my mom, and I was about 4 years old. And actually the earliest childhood memory, right? I would go through my earliest childhood memory. And I called my mom when I went through that exercise to go into early childhood memory. And I said, Mom, I said, is this true? Did this really happen? Like, what was it? Because sometimes your memory can be a little bit of a, So I said, did this happen? She goes, you were 4. I may have been about 3 or 4. And she said, you remember this instance with startling clarity. And that part is really important, because when you have a core memory, I get kind of emotional thinking about it, because when you have a core memory of something that has so much emotion attached to it, it can really be something that becomes your passion, right? Or a trauma too. We'll get to that. But it's like, I said, I walked out of the grocery store with my mom, and I lived in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, which is just south of St. Louis. And we know in St. Louis, they have Budweiser, right?
Yeah, so the Clydesdales.
The Clydesdales, exactly. So the Clydesdales were there out in the parking lot. They were setting up for some kind of event, big tents and everything. And I was like, Mom, let's go see the horse, of course. And so we walk over, and these horses they're like giant horses, they might as well have been, So I'm looking up this giant animal, and I'm like, tug on the guy's pants. I'm like, oh, can I ride your horse, mister? Like, like it's his horse, right? And he was like, oh, I'm sorry, little girl. These are special horses. We don't let people ride them. And I'm like, I'm crying my crocodile tears as I'm going back to the car. My mom's like trying to console me. And then the distributor's family shows up, and they get out of the car, and they have a little girl about my age. And guess what she got to do?
Oh.
And I was like, well, she got to ride it. So my mom dragged me back over there, and he put me on the big horse. And I'm like, my smile is as wide as this horse's back, So I'm up there, and I ride the Clydesdale, right? And that was it, man. That was it. It was over. My dad built me a barn instead of a dollhouse, and I didn't really have a chance. I lived in town, and I lived in this small town in Poplar Bluff in Missouri. Let's face it. There were people I had cows like a mile away, but I still, for whatever reason, wasn't able to get a horse. And it just kind of was always one of those things that I played with the little Breyer plastic horses. And, I took some horseback riding lessons in high school, and, had opportunities to connect with them a little bit, but it wasn't until I was 29, and I was at a point in my life where, where I knew something had to change. I was bored. I was unhappy in my marriage. Like, I was just like, life was just blasé. And so I was shampooing my carpets, watching Meet Joe Black. And I'm like, and I smoked cigarettes back then, which is like, I can't even imagine these days. Can you imagine somebody? Anyway, I said, I got to quit smoking. I got to quit smoking cigarettes. And I said, in that moment, if I can quit smoking cigarettes, I will reward myself with a horseback riding lesson. I said, 90 days. If I can quit, I'll ride. And there was a barn not too far from me. I lived in Kansas City at the time. And then the rest is history. I quit smoking. I started riding. I found natural horsemanship. Like, I saw this picture. I didn't know what it was, of this horse jumping a fence in Colorado and the Rocky Mountains in the background. It was like God sent this picture to me and said, you might want to check this out. I was like, God wanted that. And so I connected with a guy that I had met at drama camp. It's like almost like at this one time at band camp, I met this guy and I was talking to him. He's from Australia. We had remained friends since like 1989. And he said, yeah, my girlfriend's dragging me to this natural horsemanship clinic. And I was like, what's natural horsemanship? And he's like, just check it out. So I did. And I was like, I went that. So this goes all the way back to like drama, all these little things, all these little synchronicities that lined up to continue to take me down my path. And recently, and I'm coming up, I'll be 50 this year, and I know I look great, right? But I was like, it was mindset thing that really put me into a space that said, I have to think about how I got here, what I'm doing, and where I'm going. And I surrendered to that lightning rod, to the divine. And I said, I knew this is what I had to do with the rest of my life. Olympics, Tony Robbins, personal development, devastating divorce that left me homeless. Really woke up to a Facebook message from a strange woman to find that my ex-husband was a financial criminal and he went to the penitentiary and like all of it. And I ended up living on my personal assistant sofa, waiting tables at almost 40. And that was but when you go through something like that, you have to surrender. Then my brother died of a drug overdose. Then it was like I was kind of like this country song, and lost my dog. I lost my house, and I did. I lost a lot. I lost everything but my horse. And that was the one thing that didn't judge me, didn't criticize me, didn't say I was a big mess, screw up, and I was like, this is something that I know can help other people because it helped me.
Yeah. So you use the word, I think, natural horseman, or
yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know what that term means.
Yeah, it's a term that was coined by a really great horseman, and it's think the horse whisperer. It's understanding the language of the horse. It's not just using the mechanics of the horse to manipulate their movement. You're not just kicking them to get them to go or pulling on their reins to get them to stop or to manipulate their movement. We're going to understand what makes these horses tick and how we can actually communicate with them in a way that, and this is where my story brand line comes into place. Everyone deserves to have a life-changing experience with a horse that maintains the dignity of the animal. And natural horsemanship does just that. It helps you understand that your love of the horse isn't about what you can get out of the horse. Your love of the horse is what you can pour into the horse that then will give back to you. Because when you can give a horse what they need, they will give you anything you want.
The Horse Whisperer, was that Robert Redford in The Electric?
Yes.
Was that's where I remember it from?
Yeah, The Horse Whisperer, Robert Redford, and Kristen Scott Thomas and Scarlett Johansson. Uh-huh. And there was a gentleman, his name is Buck Brannaman, and he was natural horsemanship. He was a natural horseman, and he was the one that did all the training with the horse. And this horse is supposed to be like really wild, and they calm it, and then Robert Redford's the hero, whatever. The guide, they said when during the filming of the movie, they had to like fake bringing up all the dust and stuff to make it look more movie ready because the horses were so calm.
Oh.
Because the horses were all so responsive.
Another interesting thing that you just said there was about sort of the synchronicities. And one of the things that I'm believing more and more is, I don't know if you've read the book Celestine Prophecy. I did probably 25, 30 years ago. And what I remember about it is that, that in our lives, there's always signs along the way that can direct us, but we mostly don't catch them until you sort of wake up and you become conscious of your unconscious. That's one of the things I teach in the Joe Dispenza world, becoming conscious of your unconscious. And then there's signs all along the way.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when you start diving into like connecting with the horses, those two worlds bridge almost simultaneously. Because horses, you got me all excited now. Good. This is the juice, baby. This is the juice. Because when you get out there, horses live in a theta brainwave state all the time.
Really?
That's yes.
Okay, so for the people that don't know, I'm assuming you do know, what are the different brainwave states?
Yeah, so you got, you're thinking about like as you're falling asleep, like right now, you and I would be like in what, high alpha maybe? High beta. So we're like high beta because we're energetic, we're talking, we're using our prefrontal cortex. But as we start to relax and think about like, as we start to relax at the end of the day and we're going to sleep, we'll drop through a state called theta where the
alpha
brain
first,
wave.
Alpha first.
Yeah. we'll get to theta eventually, then to delta, right? So theta, alpha, theta. And so, but at that point of theta, the horses are like, oh, I could look out my window right now and see 5 horses that are in a theta brainwave state.
So theta is actually the hypnotic brainwave state. So that's when, in hypnosis, all it means is you're open to suggestions. So when we hypnotize someone, we take them from beta, which is kind of your waking state, through alpha. That's when the internal is more important than your external world. And then you go further into theta. That's the hypnotic state, or when you're most open to suggestions. And that's probably where your horses are. And then you go into delta, which is sleep.
Correct. And horses only sleep about 3 hours a day.
Oh, really?
You know why? There was like, how can they only have 3 hours a day? Because you aren't killing yourself if you're in theta and homeostasis, guys. So I don't need 8 hours of sleep. I'm cool with 5 because I know how to regulate. I know how to self-regulate. You know how I self-regulate? I get out there with the horses. I'll never have an ulcer, no matter what is going on in my outside world, because I know how to bring myself into that. Horses' hearts are huge. They're 5 times larger than ours, and they can feel us within up to 4 feet away. They can feel the vibration. We say hear our heartbeats, but they really can feel our heartbeats. And you'll notice if we've done heart math. There's a lot of science behind this, guys. So you got the heart math between the human and the horse. And if the human is out of coherence and they get around the horse, it brings the horse out of coherence. And then when the horse comes back down, they'll bring the human back into coherence with the horse, depending on where they are. So it's a powerful tool to say, where are we? And why are we working so darn hard in this stressed out state? And the horses that are in show barns or in artificial environments are ridden by people that don't understand them, that are manipulating them or doing things that the horse doesn't understand. Like, it pulls them out of theta on the regular. And then they have things like, we have to give them things like ulcer guard and medications. And then they start exhibiting behaviors like, for us would be like, smoking or biting our nails or something like that. We have to be able to soothe that the rawness of staying in high beta for too long represents, which is why we end up with things like addiction and artificial ways to get dopamine. So we can just put on some sunscreen, energetically speaking.
Yeah. I'm also a heart math trainer. So it's interesting that you brought up. I can't wait for you to be here, man. I cannot
wait. Bring all your stuff.
Bring all my stuff.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. And I'm not saying this because, this is my program that I came up with. Nobody's anybody's stuff. We're all channeling source, guys. And I credit God and Creator every single day at the highest level and say, thank you for using me as a vessel for a gift to help save and show the world the value these beautiful, majestic animals have, to help people heal, be more confident, and be stronger leaders of themselves, of their subconscious, and understanding and be more empathetic and compassionate to everyone that they come in connection with. Because when you can be compassionate towards someone and be confident, stand in your truth, you create a little something called a healthy boundary. And healthy boundaries are so absent in this culture right now that we can't have lively discussions about something we do or do not that we disagree about without getting elevated in a state in a way that is unhealthy. I can't think of a better way to live life.
So for someone like me, that I'm not a horse person, I've never really wanted to be a horse person. Our team won this United Way competition when I was working at Exxon, and we won a trip to Pismo Beach, and I took our team and we rode horses, and my son fell off and the horse almost crushed his head. And, when we were galloping, I'm sitting there going, boom, boom, boom. My back hurts so much. So I'm not a horse person, but I signed up because I think you're an amazing person. I just wanted to go experience it. So can someone like me actually show up there and get real value when I'm afraid of a horse?
Oh, I can't, but we should have led with this because I specialize in fear makeovers. I just had a woman here come last December, and she was sweating anxiety sweat just by looking at a picture of my horses that I had sent her. And she came out because she was like, I need to embrace this fear and understand it. And last time she was here, she rode one of my horses bareback and in a halter. She's over here helping me like mess with their tails and being behind of them and all around their bodies and putting medication in their mouths. And I have big horses, Robert. When you come here, you'll be like, whoa, so that's the process. And what had to happen for her? What had to happen in her mindset to go from, I am terrified of horses to, hey, can I go put some medicine in its mouth and help you? There's a power to that. She didn't have like this burning desire to be around horses. But, all of a sudden, now that she was here, it was like, wow, I had no idea horses could teach me this. And I love that you brought up the fact that I'm getting excited because this brings into something. I don't want to give too much into it because it's still in its inception. The ideology, and I've done it, so I know it works, that I could have a horse that's not trained in my methods, a human that has never been around a horse, and put those two individuals together. And at the end of 4 or 5 days, having them looking a lot like my horses who have 20 years of training, it can be done. And it's not because I'm teaching you how to be a horse trainer. I'm teaching you how to speak their language, understand what they're trying to say. If someone comes to you and says, I want to understand you, I want to help you, I want to support you, I want to understand your mind. How do you feel? How does it make you feel? It makes you feel cared for and valued and safe, right? And comfortable and loved. And when you feel love like that, and you go to that horse and you're like, I don't care if you do anything for me. I just want to understand you and I'm here for you. It teaches you how to have the best relationships on the planet, and those horses, when they feel that, they're going to open up and they're going to surrender and they're going to do things that'll blow your mind. I've done some of Dr. Joe's walking meditations with the horses, and every single time something different shows up and my jaw is on the floor, and I've been doing this for years.
So do you have specific programs that you offer for people, or is it kind of customized to whoever shows up?
It's both. It's sort of like a customized templated website, if you will. So there is a framework, because people like structure, and structure gives you an opportunity to allow things to comprehensively build on each other. So each day there's something like, I know that day 2.5 is meltdown day, like that. Like that's kind of like part of the process, right? So yes, we have a framework, and I have some online courses, a university that's online, and a community that you can join. That's a subscription-based type contribution community. So I make everything, affordable from that perspective. But when you can come out here and experience this, yeah. And then once we get the framework, sort of like you go through the course, you understand like, why would you come here? And like, I'm not going to teach you content, but the structures in the coursework, like watch a couple videos so you know who Dante is and who Bella is. And now you come here with some knowledge. And then when you get here, it's an experience. And that experience is the customized part. So every experience is different. The choosings show up differently. What you take away from it is different. And my retreats are very intimate. I never have more than about a dozen people at max. And you're coming for a private experience. So there's only going to be you and your friends. So
you have privates, you have groups. Do they last 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, or is that vary?
No, my weekends are 3 days and my immersions are a week. So
those are the two choices. A weekend.
Those are the two choices: a weekend or a week.
It's in West Palm Beach.
Yeah, I'm just south side of West Palm Beach. I'm about 25 minutes from the beach, 25 minutes from West Palm Beach Airport. And that's if you come to me in person. And again, there's only so many weekends in the year. There's only so much time on the calendar. But if you want to go and learn a little bit about what I'm doing, I also have a contribution community called the Zen Club that you could be a part of. And I do a virtual mastermind, so you can get this information. Yes, is it awesome to come and experience the horses firsthand? Absolutely. But if you can't make it here or whatever, we have, some more affordable choices that will allow you to be a part of the experience and learn from the horses. And then if you wanted to go someplace locally, you could go, you're going to be armed with knowledge that people that have had horses for years don't even are aware exist.
Okay. Well, I want our audience to come to West Palm Beach to be with Jen Zoe Hall and to be with the horse whisperer that's not Robert Redford, but maybe even cooler, especially now that he's some old dude.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd love to have, if you're interested in reaching out, you can connect to me or my team, and we can make that happen. Okay.
Very cool. Now, Jen, what is happening in the future? What's your future goals? What's going to happen in the next phase of your life?
Well, I've been working back and forth with Jesse Itzler's team. He has agreed to come here.
I don't know who that is.
Jesse Itzler's Sarah Blakely's husband. She invented Spanx. He owned Marquis Jets and Coconut Water. So they own the Atlanta Hawks together, and he has does this all day running company. He's an amazing individual, and that's one of my big things that's on the radar is working on getting him here and inviting people that are interested in the mission to be here. Like part of Robert, you coming here is supporting the mission. You sponsored in fact, you generously sponsored another woman to come through my experience that needed some help. And so just some really great things to understand what we're doing. Next up is let's take on the world. Like, let's change the way we're looking at horse rescues, because, horse rescues are, let's face it, they're broken. And they are broken, and there's a lot of ideologies around how it should be ran. And usually it's a woman like myself who has a passion for horses, but maybe doesn't know about business or how to take care of like a bigger facility or how to say no, because we rescue horses and there's one dying, we're going to bring it in. And they a lot of times get overwhelmed. That's a problem that needs to be addressed. So what I'm doing is building a system that can be put into any commercial barn, regular backyard barn, or a horse rescue, with the idea that we're going to find a way to sustainably support the rescues that desperately need not only our finances, but a system of support, not just a dollar. So that's the big piece. Corporate team building. So you said you took your team to the island and did that. I do corporate teams here. Those are day events that are possible, that are on site. I do virtual trainings. I've worked with Meta. I've worked with Google. I've worked with a lot of people, companies and done virtual trainings, and then their teams come here. And that is an infinitely scalable business model. So we have the scale through the technology to be able to get the reach to the people so they can have an experience with horses and maybe understand, oh my God, did you know that Kentucky Derby winning horse was found dead on the floor of I can't even say it, the floor of a slaughterhouse in Japan. Like, they won the most famous race in the world, and we slaughtered this poor animal.
When was that?
It's years ago, but it's happening, and it's happened. Exactly. Your response is exactly what we need to shed light on. I'm not going to come with the advocacy. You got to come with a value. And I'm taking a subversive approach to a socially conscious problem, because I believe everyone deserves to have a life-changing experience with a horse that maintains the dignity of the animal. And these animals need our help.
Cool. Okay. So if you had to give some advice, any kind of advice to our audience that may or may not love horses, so it could be about anything, what advice would you like to leave our audience? This Ratitude podcast, it's all about developing a different kind of mindset to accomplish whatever you want to do in life. What would it be?
Just one? That's like,
you could have a few. You could have as many as you want.
Wow, holy crap. When you wake up, get up. And when you wake up, when your eyes open, put your feet on the floor. Just wake up, get up, and turn around and make your bed, just like this stuff that stuff you learn in kindergarten, right? And that's just one thing that has worked with me, because we usually get up, wake up, reach over, grab our phones, and doom scroll for a 15, 20 hour and a half minute, and so just get out of bed. And that would be one. Number two, I would say, I got three. Okay. I would say, stop listening to others. Mm-hmm. Stop listening to other people.
And just listen to a horse?
Just listen to a horse. A horse connects to source, baby. A horse connect, and that's the third thing. Connect to source. Mm-hmm. Make sure you find time to connect to source so you can connect to yourself. And that's what I've learned through horses, is how to connect to source so I can connect to myself and do that, whatever is in your brain that happened to you when you were 4 years old and walking out of the grocery store with your mom, because it's still in there. Don't let that dream die inside. So stop listening to anyone else. Everyone told me to sell my horses. I had no money. I was homeless. And I had 2 very valuable horses, actually 3. I could have sold lots of money, guys, but I kept them because that's what Source was telling me to do. And I had to fight some really tough battles to keep my horses. But I wouldn't be who I am had I not done it. Yeah. And I wouldn't be able to serve the way God knows I'm capable of.
And if someone wants to reach out to you to consider or to come to one of your programs, retreats, how would they do that?
If you're listening to this, they're probably going to put it at the end, but you can just reach out to me, 407-412-0252. That's my direct cell line. You can get a hold of me and let's have a chat.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, I'll be able to help set up, and we do a lot of customized programs. Just reach out to me, 407-412-0252.
Well, Jen, it's been such an honor and pleasure having you here. I'm looking forward to sometime in the future when you're available and it works in my schedule to come have the experience. I want to see you whisper to the horses or them whisper to you. And I want to connect to source. And I'm very excited about it. And I thank you for all the work you do with the horses and with people to make the world a better place while keeping the dignity of the horse. Thank you so much for being here, Jen Zoe Hall.
Thank you.